Hello, everyone. Welcome to our second part of Impact. We are focusing on bullying, and I am hopeful that you saw our first show with our wonderful guests, Renee Ruffin-Price and Lorraine Edey. I am Kathy King, your host, and we are going to continue talking about bullying, and we'll go back and review a little bit of what we talked about before, but we're going to talk specifically today about solutions and things you can do in the community and your home, and ways that we can hopefully stamp out bullying. So Renee and Lorraine, would you like to talk a little bit first about the signs? We talked about that last time, but tell us what the signs are to look for in our kids and just about bullying.
Okay. To look for changes in behavior, changes in habits. Look for things like they're quiet now and maybe they were a person that was assertive before. Looking for they're hungry when they come home from school because someone's taking their money. Look for clothes missing. Maybe someone's taking their clothes. They're afraid to go to the mall or go to places that they used to go to. They're not socializing with their friends like they used to. Moody, the mood has changed. So different things like that that they might be doing that would indicate that something's wrong. And maybe you don't know immediately that it's bullying, but just paying attention that there's some changes.
Especially if it's different. I think different is the key, because adolescents particularly go through a certain,
Absolutely.
you know, they come home, they're hungry, they want to eat you out of a house and a home, or they are tired, and you know, because hormonally they're changing. So I think it's important for parents to know what developmentally is appropriate for a child and what is, you know, different, what could be different. And sometimes a child is depressed, and if bullying is happening, that's going to exacerbate that depression.
Right.
So are they taking any medications that might impact them? Those are different things for the parent to look at.
And some of this information can come as well from a teacher who might
Absolutely.
be sharing information that they see at school.
And I think churches are another important piece because they're part of the community, so that we empower the ministers, the staff, to be able to recognize that, because children are involved at church as well. And they might show something in the church that they might not show at home or in school. Or they might talk about something in church that they wouldn't otherwise.
I know parents don't want to overreact, because it can be a huge thing or it can be not a huge thing.
Well, one of the main ways that children bully each other is teasing. Teasing and name calling and exclusion, those are big ones. And those are some of the ones that have been around a long time, actually. But there's friendly teasing with a friend of yours, and you know that I'm teasing. And maybe I'm even calling you a name, but you're okay with that because we're friends and it's okay. Versus someone that I don't like or don't know and I'm teasing them. That's where the person might start to feel, you're really trying to hurt my feelings. You're really making fun of me. You're putting me down. So sometimes it's a matter of the relationship that exists.
Right.
And also I think it's important to look at, again, going developmentally, boys and girls or girls and girls. The way they like you sometimes is by teasing you. It's because they like you that they're going to
I never
trip
did
you.
get that.
Yeah, that they're going to trip you. They're going to pull your hair, or you know, they're going to make fun of what you have on. But it's like they want to get your attention more than anything, but it doesn't come across that way. And so I think that's important for parents to understand, but not to discount it either, because it can lead to bullying.
You gave some steps in the papers that you sent me, and I thought that they were really interesting and very motivational for people to know what to do when they see bullying, as a friend, as a bystander, and as a parent, as a teacher, as a minister or a pastor. There's so many people that are in, I mean, we are a community. Our lives are all intertwined. So how do those what are the differences in ways that we can report bullying or stop this epidemic?
Well, peer-to-peer, and if I'm a bystander, I need to recognize that this person is part of my community, and so I need to look out for them. And I may not even know them, but if I see that they're being hurt by someone, someone's making them cry or feel afraid or, being really mean to them, then I can holler out to them, come on over here with me. And that gives that person a sense of coming over to someone. Now there's two of us that are kind of looking out for that victim or target. I can go get an adult to come and intervene. I can pay attention to everything that's going on and document it and then give that report, for example, if it's at a school or if it's at a recreational facility, to give it to the persons in charge. It's like taking responsibility and ownership that I can help this person because they're in a jam right now and they're all alone and they're probably feeling really bad. And so just the fact that someone maybe even nods at them and kind of smiles, and that makes me feel like I've got an out, because this other person, while I'm coming over here, that person that told me to come on is watching the person that's doing the bullying, because bullies don't like to have the spotlight on them. So things like that can be done peer-to-peer. With a parent that, for example, that finds out that their child is being bullied, one of the first things we say is stay calm. Because if you get really upset and you go to the school and you're calling and you're mad, then it's hard to, no one's going to really listen, because it's hard to listen through all of that, and we're reacting to our emotions versus, this is what's happened. We suggest to parents to document everything. In fact, we tell students as a bystander to document where it happened, what time, who else was around, what was the setting, all those different details, so that you're creating. And sometimes it ends up being evidence that might be used, in a legal way. But it's the kind of things that police do. They're always asking all these questions. Give us the setup of everything that happened. We teach the same thing with parents, with students, with teachers. In fact, most schools now have forms that ask all those questions, because then you're empowering those who are going to be able to investigate with the information that they need. But one of the first things is going to the school. We recommend that you go to the school versus call on the phone or email, because then you've got the eye contact, and if there's questions, you can see that person, is writing down what you're saying, and whatever they're saying, write it down as well. We suggest that if it's cyberbullying, print out the emails, print out the text messages. That, again, is evidence that it's occurring. So those are some things that, peers can do, and parents.
Right. I think in terms of the teachers or the schools, I think it's so important that, what happens when something like this becomes an epidemic, we get desensitized to things. We hear so much about the same thing over and over. So what happens is we become desensitized. I think it happens for the parents. I think it happens for the teachers. Oh, she's just upset, or, this will pass. So we become desensitized, and we have to move out of that, because this is an epidemic and it's life-threatening. And if a child does come to you, that means there is something happening.
Right.
So I think that it's important for us, number one, to realize that we are being desensitized. We hear it on the television. We see it on the computer. We hear the children come in to the classroom and they're talking about bullying. It's a real thing.
Right. And I've seen bully boxes in a lot of schools. Do they work, do you think?
I can tell you they work, because I was part of bringing them to Brevard County. Didn't create it, found it on the internet in 1997. And I'm really proud that they're still being used locally, because there was a school we were working with, and we were there 3 years in a row. And this student, he knew that we looked at those notes that they wrote. And there was a child that walked in the same neighborhood that he did. And some really bad things were happening to her. It was some teenage teenagers that were doing it. He put that in the bully box, and the principal read it because every night she read the notes, and a big investigation. But that child, what we were so proud of, he knew that it was going to be taken seriously, which is what you were just saying. He knew that someone was going to read that. And all he cared about, it wasn't a bullying situation, it was much more severe than that, but he helped that child. So those boxes do work, and when we learned not too long ago that they're still being used, middle schools, high schools, elementary schools, some schools will have one in every classroom. There's a form that you fill out and the details again, but it's an anonymous way, and we encourage students because sometimes they don't want to go and make a verbal report or say, I know this is happening. All we care about is give us the details. We don't have to know that it's you that's reporting, because we want to give them as many ways as possible to make a report. There are some online reporting systems. There's a texting system. You've got the bully boxes, the verbal. So it's finding a variety of ways, because some students will do one thing and they won't do something different. But
Right.
I'm really pleased to see
Good
they're
for
still
you.
around.
Well, it makes
but
me happy.
it's because as a parent, you're trying to find what works. And so you get on the internet and you just, whatever someone else in another city is doing, you do it. And I called
Right.
that school and talked with them. And so, you know, it's still around.
Well,
And
Lorraine, go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's important that we have, the boxes are there, but somehow that the school reminds the children that this is something. I don't know, do they have loudspeakers now in school?
Yeah, yes.
Okay, so that they give announcements. This could be a weekly announcement that they use to remind children, you know, if you're being bullied, if you're upset and you need help, here, there's a box, you can use that box. People read it, know that you will be helped.
Another thing that, I don't know what's happening in other cities across the country, but I know locally there are student leaders, and they have been trained all about bullying, a lot of the things we've been talking about. They are the ones that implement the bullying program. They explain to their peers because they're part of the school. So they'll explain about the bully box, about the importance of reporting, about cyberbullying. They do a lot of activities, and as a peer saying it's okay to let someone know, and if you want to come and tell me as a leader, then I can let someone know. So that's another way to, again, reach people.
A softer way.
It's a softer way, and it gives those students a sense of empowerment that they are changing the climate of their school, which they actually are.
You spoke during the break about shame, and I know I've seen kids that are being bullied, and I feel that that's the emotion that they feel the strongest.
Absolutely.
And so they don't want to bring any more attention to it. They just want it to go away, and it won't.
Right.
So how do we keep our kids from feeling so much shame, because they shouldn't feel shame for being bullied.
Right.
It's not their fault.
Well, I think first of all to acknowledge that that's what they feel. I don't think that people, even as adults, know we feel ashamed and what that does to us and how it impacts us. So I think part of the education needs to be, what is you're feeling shame, to be able to validate that for the young person so that they understand. Shame says, I'm not good enough.
Right.
You know, I'm not good enough. And that's not true, but that's what the individual feels. So what we can begin to do is help them to understand what shame means, what it does to them, how it impacts them, how it will impact their work, how it will impact their relationships with other peers, how it will impact their relationship with their parents, because they're going to withdraw. They're not going to feel good enough to feel worthy enough to be able to get the help that they need.
Right. And sometimes that shame leads to disastrous results.
Right.
And I know, you know, that we spoke about suicide, and I know you have some signs of suicide, and I think that's something important for our viewers to hear, because even though it seems like it's a rare occurrence, it's becoming more and more prevalent in our society. So, Renee, why don't you talk a little bit about suicide and tell us the ultimate bullying result?
And it's the cyberbullying that where we have the connection with the suicide. But and I'm going to look at this because I want to be sure to say these correctly. But and these are very similar to the warning signs of bullying. Actually, it's these words are it's organized around the word facts. FACTS. So F is regarding feelings, which we talked about with bullying. But with suicide, you're feeling hopeless. You're feeling worthless. You're feeling like I've lost control. Why am I here? I'm not like you were saying. I'm feeling ashamed. I'm not a special person. So it's feelings. The A stands for action, which is when a person might start using drugs or drinking alcohol or talking about death and writing things about death or reading things about death. They kind of become preoccupied with that. They get aggressive. They get riskier in their behavior. So they're reckless. C for changes, and that's similar to what we mentioned before with the bullying signs, which is not sleeping well, not eating well, losing interest in your hobbies and your friends and the things that you used to do. It mentions here sometimes there's a sudden improvement. You've been in a lull and depressed, and then suddenly you're just all excited. That sometimes is an indication that someone's like feeling relief is on its way, so to speak. Threats, statements like, how long does it take to bleed to death? Which, when you read that,
that hurts my heart. I can't even imagine somebody thinking that.
And that's something that a student might say to another friend, and it's really a clue for that friend. Why are they talking about this? Especially, like you were saying, if it's something different. Maybe they never talked about death before, and suddenly they are. Maybe they're starting to give away their favorite things. That's a big sign with young people. I want this person to have this jewelry and this person to have that. That's another sign. And that's why it's important to teach our young people these signs as well, so that when these things are happening, these comments that are made and things that are done, they're on the alert as well.
For their parents, too.
Yes, absolutely. And then situations is the S, and that's where they're starting to get into trouble. At school, at home, with the law. Maybe there's been a recent loss in the family, a death or a divorce, those types of things. And maybe they're starting to do some cutting, those types of things. So something's causing them to really change their behavior. So those are some of the warning signs. There's a lot of signs, and it's really simple, again, to type in the computer suicide signs, and you'll get all kinds, and it's consistent. The information's pretty consistent across the board, but it's educating yourselves to it.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think it's real important for parents to look at children, especially when there's self-mutilation. They'll start to wear long sleeves. So why are you wearing long sleeves in the middle of the summertime or springtime when it's hot? So look for certain signs. Where did those scratches come from? Because it's a way of them being able to express the frustration and the pain that they're feeling, and they take it out on themselves.
Well, Be Kind Brevard is a wonderful organization that addresses these issues, and I really would like to spend a good bit of time talking about what Be Kind Brevard is doing and how people can help you and what the steps are that are making Be Kind Brevard so important in our community.
Well, one of the first things is what we're doing right now with this, being on your show, because we're educating people. A big part of it is helping people know what they don't know. And then also we're talking about solutions, so helping them to understand there are some things that you can do. A lot of the times we don't know what to do. So part of our function is to educate, and that's in different ways. For example, one of our members has 100,000 emails. An email list that has 100,000 names on it. And last week, we sent him 2 flyers that he sent out to all of those 100,000 people on his email list because we wanted to we had a version for young people that gave them information on if they're feeling depressed and sad and, maybe they're contemplating suicide. Here's the number to call. Here's the 800 number to call. Here's some local numbers to call. Taylor for Teens and Hannah's Hero. So we were giving that information right in the homes of whoever he has on that email list. The other flyer was mentioning, and we also gave them the names of 2 websites that we really like, stopbullying.gov, and the other one is pacer.org. And there are other sites, but we particularly like those 2 because they have sections for parents, they have sections for schools, they have sections for children, they have sections for teens, and they have sections for the community. So it's kind of like a lot of the things we're talking about are right there. And that's why it's easy for people to educate themselves because the information is available. So we gave that on that paper for the flyer for young people. I think we titled it something about teenagers. This is for you. Oh, you're not alone. That was something yes, Lorraine thought of that, and I thought that was great. So that was how it was titled. And then the other flyer was addressed to parents, and it was providing them with some of the signs of bullying, so that as that 100,000 households have that information in their hand.
What to look for.
What to look for, and again, the websites to get the education. So a big factor is educating. We did a presentation at a retirement community. It was a PowerPoint that we did last October 21st, which is Unity Day across the country, and that's a day where no bullying.
I was stunned at this story. Tell our viewers about this. There is bullying in retirement communities. It never leaves us.
No, it doesn't, and it's if the behavior, if you don't know that that's what that behavior is or what it looks like, and if you're, you're 80s or 90s and you've been doing it all those years, and what happened is when I did the presentation, several people said, I didn't know that was bullying. I don't want to look like a bully. I'm going to stop. And it was like, okay, it's just providing the information in a manner. They were all dressed in orange, which is the color for Unity Day, and we had cake and ice cream, but the message was a serious message, and they received it well. So educating college students. We're going to be working with workplace bullying. Lorraine knows a lot about that. And we also want to educate on the bullying that occurs with children with special needs or people with special needs. There's a lot of, you mentioned something earlier on the other show about building someone's self-esteem, and now they're feeling confident, and then someone calls them a name, because maybe they're, stimming, so they're making fun of them. So making people aware how that feels, but also what that does to that person, and now they're back down here. Right. So it's heightening awareness, doing presentations. I guess
we're going to start to do some crisis intervention as well. And be able, if a child is in school and needs somebody to talk to, they can call us and we'll see them. And intervene at a level, and then they'll be able to go on and get the additional support that they need.
Do schools have your number specifically? I know a lot of times people are sent to circles of care, and that might be a different kind of thing, but to me, it still all stems from bullying for the kids, and for domestic abuse. All of that is still bullying in a different sort of way. Is there anything that you would like to share? What is your finest achievement? We are impact, so I would like to know, what impact you remember the most of your of Be Kind Brevard.
I think, as a matter of fact, just recently, because
I was thinking that too. Yes,
Renee saw a young a couple of young people, and then I saw them afterwards. I think the impact, because there was a bullying situation, they were expelled from school, and what we did was engage them to become a part of what we're doing, and they've gotten so excited about it. They want to be, and I said, you could be leaders. You've had this experience. You can take this experience and turn it around and use it to empower other young people in your school.
The other bully buddies.
Exactly, or not bully buddies, but you know.
No, I mean, yeah, in a good way.
Yeah. BB buddies. So to really give them something, because it's got to change from this I to we. It's got to be that as a community, we come together. All of the communities that are doing this work on bullying, we need to come together, like have a huge conference where we can talk about and share and know that we're not alone. This is happening, it's an epidemic, and we can together be able to do something about it. We can help the parents, we can help the teachers, we can help our community. So we're not alone, and that's such an important piece for the community to know.
Absolutely.
And it has to start on that level. If we involve the children and make them feel, empower them to be able to do something to help change, affect change, then that's the way it's going to happen, because children are resilient. They're naturally resilient.
They definitely are. Yes.
So, and they can use that to shift and to change.
And their parents as well. Because initially you might feel hopeless, I don't know what to do, and now you feel like, okay, now here's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Here's what I need to do as a parent, maybe change some things that I've done. Maybe, maybe I was reacting, and so now I'm feeling calm, my daughter's feeling better, my son's more relaxed now. So it has that domino effect, and that's what we want.
And the parents of these children are excited about being involved.
Yes.
So they can take it into the community. That's how grassroots things happen and grow.
Exactly. Well, this subject is so dear to our hearts, and as you said, this is something that needs to be in our community and a community effort. Our kids are our future, and we all know that, and it's just vitally important that we step in. Be Kind Brevard is a wonderful organization, and I thank you for joining us today. I am Kathy King, your host. See you next time on Impact.
More information about this program is available online at millermediagroup.org.